A man is driving drunk when he ends up hitting a woman.
A policewoman, seeing that, arrests the man for what he did. The man then gets mad at the officer and says she didn't know who she was talking to, and she says it didn't matter who she was talking to as he had just run over a woman. He says the woman was fine and that the officer should call an ambulance for her instead of trying to arrest him. The policewoman then says that even though she is a woman, she could arrest the man. The man then laughs at her and tells her that she was too young to be a police officer and tells her to leave him alone. While the woman says that she could arrest the man, another policeman comes running and asks if everything was okay.
He then greets the man.
The man says the police wanted to take him to prison. The officer then apologizes to the man and that he will sort everything out. He says he will talk and explain things to the officer. Later, the policeman says that the situation of the woman who was run over was already resolved and that the ambulance would arrive soon. He then says that he will talk to the police officer now. The policeman then says that she couldn't talk that way to that man. She says she doesn't know him, and the policeman says that she can't talk that way to people she doesn't know, and that if she knew that man, she wouldn't talk to him like that. She then says that it didn't matter, because he was driving drunk and ended up hitting someone, in addition to being defying in authority. The policeman then says that man was a police colonel and that he could end her career. She then says she didn't care as he had run over someone. The policeman then says that he was her superior and that it was up to her to stop that. The policeman then asks the man for forgiveness and says he will resolve that matter so as not to harm the man. The man says that she had gone after him because she was a woman. The officer then agrees with the man and says he understands the situation. The man then says they should review whether or not women can work in the police. The policeman then says that the situation was already resolved, so he asks the man to collaborate with him. The man then says that he had never lacked money and pays the policeman. He thanks the man for his collaboration and he asks if the police officer would help him with that situation, because due to his position in the police, he could not receive a report of being run over as it would end his career. But the police officer tells him to stay calm, that everything would work out, and asks the woman to leave. Later, the officer stops a woman passing by and explains the situation to her. He says that man was a very important person and that there had been an accident there, so he needed the woman to tell everyone that she was driving the car, because if she didn't, things would get bad for her. She says she can't do that, because she hadn't even seen what had happened there. The policeman then says that it was just for the woman to get into the car, take the money from her hand, and that he would soon give him more money. She then says she has a family and that money was too little for her to do that. He then tells her that it was for her to just obey him, that everything would be fine, and she agrees. The woman then gets into the car, but ends up rethinking and says she doesn't want to do that. The policeman then tells her to do what he was saying so that nothing bad happens to her. The policewoman, seeing that, interferes and says that it was unfair, because the woman had not done anything wrong. He says he was just trying to work things out for them, but the woman says it was wrong and the woman didn't do anything wrong. She then says that it was not for the colonel to act that way, but to set a good example for them. The policeman then goes to talk to the man. The policewoman then tells the woman that she had already called reinforcements and that they would soon arrive. She asks for the woman's cooperation so that they can resolve the situation, as she would not let the man go free. The woman then asks what the policewoman was thinking of doing, as they were weaker than the two. She then says she had a plan and that the woman was to do what she was going to say. She agrees to help the policewoman. The policeman then arrives and asks what she was doing. The woman says she wasn't doing anything, she was just talking to the woman. She then says she will get out of the car quickly as she was having trouble breathing. The policeman then tells her not to try to do anything as it would end badly for her.
The man then becomes impatient and asks if he would be released or not.
The officer asks the man to stay calm, that he would soon resolve the situation. The policewoman says that no, things couldn't stay that way and that the man should be arrested. The man gets mad at her and says women can't be police officers, women are only good for housekeeping. The policeman laughs and agrees with him. The policewoman then gives the signal for the woman to start the plan. She goes up to the man and says he was going to be arrested. The policeman tells her to cut it out, but she says that he could even be a colonel, but that wouldn't stop him from being arrested. The man then tries to hold the policewoman, but the woman interferes and pushes him. The man asks if the policeman would let the woman treat him like that, and the policeman says that she couldn't treat him like that and that he would arrest her. The policewoman then says that if he arrests the woman, she would tell everyone that he accepted the man's bribe and that he was to arrest him soon. He says he won't do that, but the policewoman says that if he doesn't arrest the man, he will be arrested along with him, as she had called for backup and they were coming. The officer then says unfortunately things have changed and he would have to arrest the man. The man then insults the officer that they are taking orders from a woman. The woman tells him to arrest the man soon and he does. As the officer takes the man to jail, he says that things are not going to stay that way and that the officer will be sorry. The officer then apologizes to the woman and says she couldn't let him take the blame for something she didn't do. The woman thanks her for her help and says she doesn't understand why there are still people with such empty minds that they don't think women can be police officers. She then says that since joining the police she has suffered this kind of prejudice and that she has the same authority as a male police officer. The woman then thanks her again for her help and says she would make a great police officer. She says she doesn't know what could have happened to her if he was arrested.